Soy Estefanía Lugo. El proceso ha sido largo, gracias a todas estas personas que nos han apoyado, es que esto se ha logrado.
So Fundahigado America is the organization Pedro and I started to really to expand the capability of liver transplantation in children. That also includes a lot of knowledge about the liver disease and how to take care of children with liver disease. So this is a foundation incorporated for the purpose to do education and training of the people in the local areas in Latin American country. Our goal is to make the liver transplant for children available in every area.
In the name of Fundahigado America's team, I want to welcome everyone. I want to thank our speakers for sharing their stories and for calling to action today.
We know for many of these patients we serve, the path back to health is not linear and often takes years. Because of supporters like you, we are able to provide 1. Ongoing support for patients and families to thrive. 2. Launch classrooms to save lives. 3. To build a social media platform to communicate better every day. I want you to join us in supporting families like these that you will hear from today. Every single dollar raised tonight will support a patient's journey towards a long and healthy life. You can do so right now by following the link shared throughout the event. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight with your continued support and generosity. We know even greater change and impact is ahead of us. We look forward to sharing some stories of impact with you in the months ahead. Please remember that Fundahigado America is a corporation organized exclusively for charitable and scientific purposes within the meaning of Section 501c3 of the IRS, promoting efforts to train healthcare professionals to provide medical treatment for diseases of the liver in the underserved areas of the Americas and the Caribbean. Your donations can be deducted from your taxes up to the extent of the law.
Hello and welcome everyone. First of all, I want to thank you very much for being here and joining us today. My name is Eugenia and I am pleased to present to you the co-founders of Fundahigado America, Dr. Pedro Rivas and Dr. Tom Cato.
Hey Eugenia, how you doing? I have the privilege to thank everybody to our virtual town hall. It is a great opportunity that we have today to share with everyone the work we've done throughout the years. And a special thanks to our supporters that has allowed us to do the work. Tom.
Hi, welcome everyone to the virtual town hall. When Pedro and I started to work on a mission to make pediatric liver transplant in children available in every Latin American country, it was many years ago. We have made a significant progress since then. So we'd like to go over those today. And also this year, I faced a major challenge for myself, which was a COVID infection to myself. I will touch on that a little bit later. Today, we'd like to share with you what we have done and what we are doing ongoing. We have a lot to cover today, so without further ado, Pedro, should we see the video?
Yeah, let's see the first video.
Mi historia. Mi nombre es Marlene Rojo, soy la mamá de Estefanía Lugo. Después de su nacimiento, al tercer día se empezó a poner amarilla y vinieron una serie de exámenes. A los 2 meses me dan este diagnóstico, una atresia de vías biliares. Me dicen que esa atresia le causó una cirrosis hepática. Y pensar que tu niña de 2 meses tiene una enfermedad terminal es muy difícil, muy difícil. Llego al hospital y hay 3 niños en la misma situación que ella. Y veo morir 2 de ellos de la misma situación de atresia, por hemorragia. Ya tenían días hospitalizados y murieron. Pasó 15 días hospitalizada allí. Allí es donde me la refieren a Fundahigado.
Dios mío, ayúdame, por favor, a superar esto. Que mi niña no salga de este momento que le está pasando. Fue fuerte, es bastante fuerte.
Estefanía fue operada de esa atresia de vías biliares. Le hicieron lo que llaman el CASAI, que es una operación como un mientras tanto para lo que viene después, que tampoco conocía lo que venía después.
Entre mi esposa y yo empezamos a ver quién era compatible con mi hija. Gracias a Dios que soy yo, y voy a ayudarla. Un poco contento porque yo voy a ayudarla a ella. Dar un segmento de hígado para que mi niña pueda tener sus actividades normales.
Hay una esperanza de vida con el trasplante.
Nuestro Cato también muy contento.
Everything went really well, okay?
Gracias.
Vale. Lo logramos.
Sí.
Gracias a todos.
Gracias a
Lleva mucho tiempo en quimio y saber que tenía esa oportunidad de trasplante, bueno, o sea, si la tenemos que hacer, ya hacemos, porque para poder seguir avanzando y recuperarme de todo esto. Un sueño muy grande e importante porque mi primera vez con el fútbol fue hace más de 10 años y entonces que desde ese momento ese sentimiento de fútbol creo que nunca se ha apagado y creo que tampoco nunca se va a apagar.
Me sentí aliviada de saber que teníamos todavía una oportunidad de vida para Raúl. Mas, sin embargo, es una noticia muy fuerte para nosotros como padres.
De saber la necesidad o la opción del trasplante de Raúl, para nosotros y para mí fue una oportunidad más que se nos estaba presentando en el camino del proceso de Raúl, ya que 4 años en un proceso de 2 operaciones, varias quimioterapias, pues, y al ver que los procedimientos ya últimos no estaban dando los efectos esperados, teníamos la preocupación y el miedo de qué íbamos a hacer después.
Dentro de todo, damos gracias de que haya una opción de vida, y de verdad que eso para mí ahorita es muy importante, tener una opción de vida para mí.
Es una nueva oportunidad que nos está presentando la vida, nos está presentando Dios, y tenemos que aprovecharla para que Él pueda seguir con su vida y pueda seguir su sueño.
Yo lo veo sano, lo veo trasplantado y lo veo que va a seguir su vida normal, porque él quiere cumplir su sueño de ser un jugador de fútbol profesional y de ser un joven normal, como dice él.
Well, those were powerful videos. I'd like to explain a little bit about the first patient. Okay, the first patient, Stefania. The disease she had was called biliary atresia. This is the disease that most commonly the cause of the liver failure in children, and also the most common cause that the children needs the liver transplant. Even in the family in the US, the news that their child was born with biliary atresia is a devastating news. But there's a treatments available here. There's a hope that children can be transplanted in the end and be happy. But in the countries where liver transplants are not available, it's a very different story. Due to the fact that the liver transplant became available in her country, Stefania was saved. She's doing really well, and she continues to do well. And then we, Fundahigado America, with your support, we made it available in her country. Okay, Pedro, you wanna explain Raul case?
Raul's story, it's a different story. It's a malignant disease that comes to a point that the only option that the patient have in order to survive is to get a liver transplant. So Raul will be one of the training activities that we will do next year. During that training activity, we will be able to train further doctors involved in the care and treatment of this complex liver disease, and we will offer the option to Raul to become a professional soccer player, just exactly what he's dreaming about. So those are two powerful stories that we're happy to share, and you will be able to understand how our training activities and our teaching and educational protocols help to save lives with your support.
Thank you, Dr. Cato and Dr. Rivas, for sharing these stories with us. I did want to mention that just like you can see here at the bottom of your screens, if you go to your Zoom chat, you will be finding the links for the giving page. You can also find there throughout the event the link for the silent auction, which we hope you can visit as well. And before we go on to the next story, Dr. Rivas, would you like to tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, this next story is also a beautiful story that talks about another country where we have the opportunity to work. It's the story of a child called Genesis. Genesis was very sick, and this is a story told by her parents because she was only 2 years old. And this story is made possible thanks to the support that we got from one of our board members and special supporters, Pia and Marco Monroy. So let's see the video, please.
Yo como mamá sospechaba que mi hija, desde que el momento que nació, ella venía muy amarillita, sus ojos color amarillo, y yo dije algo no anda bien con mi hija, se los comenté a los médicos, A los días ella empezó con mucha fiebre. Ellos empiezan con demasiada fiebre. La llevamos al hospital de acá de Golfito y la dejaron como aquí en observación de que era como falta de sol, amarillita, y ahí fue donde ya me dieron el diagnóstico que mi hija tenía un problema de hígado, y prácticamente ahí fue cuando uno se derrumba por completo, ¿verdad? Porque que le digan a uno, tu hijo está enfermo. Bueno, la enfermedad de Génesis es una atresia de vías biliares, es una enfermedad grave para los niños que padecen eso, como en el caso de mi hija. Ella, si no se le hacía un trasplante de hígado, el riesgo era morir.
El hospital tenía prácticamente paralizada la unidad de trasplantes, pero se necesitaba buscar una solución no tanto aquí, sino buscarla fuera del país, por mientras se arreglaba la situación en el hospital de niños. Cuando el doctor de Venezuela me dijo, Ale, yo lo que necesito son 300 gramos de tu hígado. Digo, tan poquito. Y se moría de risa. Me dice, eso es lo que yo ocupo. Yo digo, agárrelo. Si sirve, agárrelo. Y Alex, ¿qué pasa si algo sale mal contigo? Digo, yo ya viví, yo ya jugué. Ella va a empezar a vivir. Por mí no se preocupe. Yo lo que necesito es que ella viva. A mí si quieren me sacan todo el hígado si lo ocupan. Y a mí me dejan con el huequito ahí, le digo. Pero yo lo que necesito es que ella viva. Esta fundación, Fundahígados, a nivel centroamericano, no sé dónde estuviera Génesis. Ahorita contándole otra historia que no sería nada bonita, ¿verdad? Y aquí estamos. Génesis siempre, como yo le digo, mi terremoto, porque eso es un terremoto y ahora ya es terremoto con tsunami, ya revuelto, eso inquieta, pero ha estado bien, ha estado estable, ahí echándole para adelante, como dicen.
No hay palabras, agradecimiento total en esto, ¿verdad? Fundahígado es algo maravilloso para cualquier familia que les abre las puertas, y agradecerles a los doctores de Fundahígado, a tantas personas que nos ayudaron acá como en Costa Rica, en Venezuela. No hay palabras, es que uno le da gracias a Dios el día a día. Por ellos es que tengo a mi hija conmigo y la tengo viva gracias a Fundahígados, y viviría agradecida por siempre con ellos, ¿verdad?
Well, Genesis also have the same disease, biliary atresia, the same disease Stefania had. And she's from Costa Rica. She was really sick because she wasn't getting appropriate treatment. She was not, there was liver transplant was not available at that time. She really waited too long. And they called for help, and we were able to get in and help, and then saved her. But imagine that there was no transplant available. She was literally on the verge of death. She could have died any moment. But the same thing is happening, literally happening in everywhere where liver transplants are not available. There are so many countries in Latin America and Caribbean, but only a handful has a capability to do liver transplant in children. So this is another story that we learned a lot. There's a lot of need that we still have to, go for achieve our goal. Pedro?
Yeah. So transplant can have a wonderful effect, not only on the transplant recipient, but also on the family. So I want to take a pause just to share with you a beautiful story. Throughout this journey, we have met inspiring people that has just allow us to continue our work. People like Carolina Herrera, that's been with us since the beginning as an honorary member, but also we've met people through our social media. And this is the story of a person, even though we didn't transplant her, she is a person that wanted to share with us her moment between being sick and getting her transplant and recovering her life. So this is the story of Tatiana, and we're going to share it with you. Please, let's see Tatiana's video.
Hola, mi nombre es Tatiana Narváez, soy trasplantada de hígado desde hace 6 años. Recibí mi trasplante después de 2 años de luchar contra un cáncer y pues en ese momento mi trasplante era la única posibilidad de tratamiento que tenía. Gracias al trasplante y a la donación estoy aquí contando mi historia hoy. Han sido 6 años maravillosos de vida extra, como digo yo. Y bueno, puedo decir que el trasplante realmente es una realidad que salva vidas, que cambia vidas. Y no solamente la del receptor, sino también la de su núcleo familiar y la de todas las personas que nos quieren. Y bueno, una persona con trasplante puede hacer absolutamente todo lo que se proponga, no somos personas limitadas ni mucho menos, es simplemente un mundo de posibilidades que se abre cuando recibes su trasplante. Salimos con un turbo porque queremos comernos el mundo, volver a trabajar, volver a estudiar, retomar nuestro proyecto de vida. Inclusive después del trasplante empecé a hacer triatlón, yo no hacía deporte y bueno, esa ha sido como una forma de demostrar que no hay límites y que realmente las personas trasplantadas podemos hacer todo lo que soñemos y bueno, y que gracias a la donación y al trasplante realmente se pueden salvar vidas.
Wow, this is really an inspiring story. It is really amazing to see how people, after going through all of that and receiving a transplant, are able to redo their lives, and even in the case of Tatiana, complete a triathlon. Dr. Cato, I think you want to share with us also a very inspiring story. Would you like to tell us a little about it?
Sure. So in the beginning of March this year, when pandemic was coming to New York, we had no idea how serious the pandemic is going to be or how quickly it will spread through the city. We were still doing surgeries as usual without the appropriate PPEs for the COVID. As a matter of fact, I did a living donor liver transplant in child in mid-March. But the end of March, I got really, really sick with COVID infection. I ended up in an ICU with ventilator for 3 weeks. I was even on the ECMO, which is an artificial lung machine, for a week. And then I was on continuous dialysis for 4 weeks. So I was really, really sick. But thank God and thanks to the colleagues treated me, and then thanks to the prayer from all over the world, from my friends and family, I survived. During my recovery, I was thinking a lot of things and reflecting upon my events in my life. In the hospital, there's not much else to do. So I was really thinking and reflecting. I was thinking about many things. I was thinking about the patients I did a surgery on. I was thinking about children I did a transplant. And also I was thinking about this foundation. When you're really faced with the serious illness and faced with the death, you start to think things a little differently. We have an idea that you have to do things you can do today, not tomorrow. But if you're really faced with the situation that there might be tomorrow may not come, you really think and understand that in your stomach. So I was thinking when I recover, I really have to push this foundation and a mission. We have the mission to make liver transplant in children available in every Latin American and the Caribbean. We have done a progress, we have made a progress, we have done work, but we haven't really achieved our goal. So I really wanted to do this and then want to have more people join us and so that we can achieve the goal. Thank you.
Tom, I want to thank you for sharing such a heartfelt and personal story. I have to say that I was one of the people praying, and so it was my family and everybody. I have met you through these last 15 years. You're a wonderful person, and everybody is extremely happy to have you back. And I have to say, it's an honor to have met you and work with you. And you know, we're going to continue our work for sure. That's definitely our mission. And with the support of many, many people, we will continue saving life as we have. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Dr. Cato, for sharing this story with all of us. Thank you for your commitment to Fundahigado America, as well as Dr. Rivas. So following up on a little on how to make this mission possible, I want to mention that there is 2 ways of helping us today. One of them is through the giving page, which, as I mentioned before, you can find through the Zoom chat, the link. In the giving page, you can make donations, or you can go to our silent auction, which we opened for this event. It's going to be open until next Friday. And I want to show you some of the items that we have there. There's pretty nice items, so if you would like to visit it and help us through the silent auction, that would be great. So right here, you can see a painting that Ashley Longshore donated to us. Its title is Yes, and it's a really pretty painting. Let's go to see the next item. Okay, so Shauna Drew is another artist who donated some of her paintings and wearable art to our silent auction. You can see there's 3 t-shirts and there's a lip painting. She's famous for painting lips. They're really nice as well. You can see it through the silent auction webpage. Can we see the next item, please? Okay, so we have a really pretty bag from Carolina Herrera. She is an honorary member of Fundahigado America. She's always supporting us and helping us. You can also find that through our silent auction webpage. Can we see the next item, please? Okay, so we got a donation of a dinner from Gilbert's. This restaurant is in Fort Lauderdale, and there's a variety of food. It's American, and they're famous for their burgers. Can we see the next item, please? Okay, this is another dinner. This is in Miami, in Coral Gables. It's a dinner at Suka. It's a pretty nice, fancy restaurant. You can also bid for it on our silent auction. Can we see the next item, please? We also got this bag from Issei Miyake. He's a Japanese designer, and you can also find it on our silent auction webpage. Can we see the next item? We also have some collection items. This is one of them. This is a box, a VIP box that from Taylor Swift. It has signed accessories from her. Can we see the next item? Okay, we also have this ball signed by Hideki Matsui. He's a big league baseball player, and you can also find it on the silent auction webpage. Can we see the next item, please? We also have a bat from Jose Cafecito Martinez, signed by him. And this is, I think, our last collection item that you can find on our silent auction webpage. Can we see the next one? Okay, this is a Venezuelan artist piece of art. It is made out of recycled paper, recycling material. And well, as you can see, it has the Venezuelan flag on it. I think that would be our last item, or do we have more? Can we see the next one? That was the last one. Okay. Yeah, so you can find all of that, bid for all of that in our silent auction webpage, which the link you can also find in the Zoom chat.
Thank you, Eugenia. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll move on to
Pedro. You know, over the years, we transplanted many children, but the children grow up, and then there are young adults, and some of them married. Actually, many of them married, and many of them had children, right? So we don't want to forget to share this story with you guys. And so we have heard the news, great news from one of the patients transplanted. She was a teenager, Oralis. We also did a photo exhibit on her picture through her journey to the transplant as well. She now became a young adult, and then she was married, and she just had a baby. So this is a picture of her baby and Oralis. So congratulations to Oralis. And this is really another testimonial of how powerful the liver transplant can change someone's life. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true, Tom. It's such a wonderful stories to share. O'Reilly Suzette, her baby, only a year old. It's really a wonderful story. She was only a teenager when we treated her. So we'll move on with another two wonderful stories from another two countries where we have also initiated our work. These two next videos will be presented by outliers in each country, people that will be carrying on their activity in conjunction with Fundahigado America. But I think Tom can maybe summarize the work we do using another kind donation that we got through Marco and Pia Monroy through our whiteboard. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd like to present to you this whiteboard presentation. This is to show how we do our work. Maybe we should just watch the video first and we can follow up on it later. Pedro?
Okay, so let's see the whiteboard, please.
Every year, about 600 children are born in Latin America with severe liver diseases that seriously compromise both their quality of life and life expectancy. To this should be added the disruption caused by the disease in the child's immediate and extended family. In the majority of cases, a liver transplant would save the life of the child. Unfortunately, however, many countries in the region do not have the hospital infrastructure and trained medical staff required to carry out this surgery, thereby condemning too many children to an early and painful death. Our proposal: a road, an option, an opportunity. Fundahigado America is a nonprofit foundation created with the purpose of generating and transmitting the knowledge and tools required to provide medical treatment of pediatric liver disease in underserved areas in Latin America and the Caribbean. To achieve this goal, we have created a program that provides for improvements in hospital infrastructure and training of medical staff in those countries in which pediatric liver transplants are not currently performed, so that said surgery can become a true option for the children in the region. What do? In those countries in which there are no liver transplant programs for pediatric patients, we identify health centers at which these procedures could potentially be performed and help the local authorities upgrade the facilities to the required standards. Expert Fundahigado doctors evaluate the children that require this surgery and train the local professionals in performing the procedure. We document the protocols and pertinent medical surgical recommendations. We design and monitor a sustainability plan aimed at maintaining, improving, and extending professional skills in the field of pediatric liver surgery. Co-benefits. The program generates additional benefits for the hospitals in which it is implemented, since these will thereafter be technically and professionally qualified to perform not only pediatric liver transplants, but also other complex surgeries, thanks to the enhanced training of their medical staff and the improvements carried out in their operating theaters, areas of biomedical imaging and intensive care units, among others. If you wish to know more about our foundation or collaborate with us, you can find us at contact@fundahigadoamerica.org, www.fundahigadoamerica.org, Twitter @FHIGADO America, Instagram Fundahigado America. Fundahigado America, bringing hope.
Buenas tardes, soy Mercedes Martínez, médico pediatra y experta en trasplante de hígado y de intestino. Trabajo en el Hospital Presbiteriano de Nueva York y soy miembro del board de directores de Fundahigado America. Bienvenidos y le agradezco su participación y apoyo hoy. Es un verdadero placer que estoy aquí introduciendo la labor que Fundahigado America ha estado haciendo en República Dominicana de la mano de un gran líder del país y de la medicina, el doctor Julio Castaño, quien con sus colaboradores del Hospital General Plaza de la Salud han estado trabajando arduamente para establecer el primer programa de trasplante hepático pediátrico en el país. Ha sido un honor y un placer para Fundahigado America colaborar en la educación y capacitación de los galenos dominicanos, que en un futuro no muy lejano nos permitirá ofrecer una asistencia especializada y darle el regalo de vida a los niños dominicanos con enfermedades hepáticas con un nuevo trasplante hepático. Esta colaboración ha sido muy fructífera y es parte del eslogan de Fundahigado America, que vamos a traer esperanza a los niños dominicanos. Estos niños van a ser trasplantados por los médicos dominicanos y en su país debido al apoyo de la Fundación Fundahigado America. Le quiero agradecer su participación hoy. No se olviden de hacer sus donaciones y comprar algunos artículos en la Silent Option. Y recuerden que sin su apoyo no podremos seguir trabajando. Su soporte, su apoyo es vital para la labor de Fundahigado America. Gracias.
Hola, soy Desiree Díez Portela, subdirectora de operaciones del Hospital General de la Plaza de la Salud. Para nosotros ha sido un placer colaborar con Fundahigado America Foundation, con quienes estamos trabajando desde el año 2018 para desarrollar un programa de trasplante hepático pediátrico de vivo a vivo en la República Dominicana. Desde hace 13 años somos pioneros de trasplantes en el país, habiendo realizado ya más de 350 trasplantes de distintos órganos, 48 de estos de hígado en adultos. Les agradecemos a Fundahigado por invitarnos a ser parte de este magnífico evento que, pese al distanciamiento físico, nos une a esta noble causa. Gracias al doctor Pedro Rivas, al doctor Tamoaki Keito y a la doctora Mercedes Martínez, así como a todo el equipo de Fundahigado America por su trabajo para devolver la esperanza a tantos niños, niñas y familias dominicanas afectadas por enfermedades hepáticas. Esperamos pronto cumplir con este sueño compartido en nuestro país.
Saludo a todos. Soy el doctor Giomar Figueroa Hermosén, cirujano de trasplante del Hospital General de la Plaza de la Salud, y le quiero decir en este mensaje que nuestra institución está desarrollando un programa de trasplante hepático pediátrico para llevar salud y vida a toda la población pediátrica de la República Dominicana. Esta labor ha puesto mucho empeño nuestro patronato para que sea conseguida junto a Fundahigado America, quien está trabajando de cerca con nosotros para que esto sea una realidad en nuestro país. Solicito que todo lo que puedan colaborar con esta acción se unan porque van a llevar salud y vida a la población dominicana.
Saludos, soy la doctora Isaura Cornelio, coordinadora de la Unidad de Gastroenterología y Hepatología Pediátrica del Hospital General de la Plaza de la Salud, República Dominicana. Quiero agradecer profundamente a Fundahigado por su colaboración, por su apoyo e interés en nuestra población pediátrica, que nos ha impulsado a formar una unidad especializada para la captación y seguimiento de nuestros pacientes con enfermedades hepáticas, con la finalidad de mejorar sus expectativas de vida, y en especial por ir de nuestras manos apoyándonos y guiándonos para en el próximo año dar inicio a nuestro más grande proyecto de formar la primera unidad de trasplante hepático pediátrico en el país. Muchas gracias.
So this is one of the country we were working ongoing. It's Dominican Republic. In order to make pediatric liver transplant available in the country, there's many steps to take. First, we identify the country, and usually go to the government official and get a permission to work in the country. And the second step is to identify the hospital and identify the physicians and surgeon who will be trained and capable to do liver transplantation. Then we go in and start the training. So Dominican Republic, we have worked for probably more than 3 years, like few years now, and then they are ready. They are ready to start the liver transplant at any moment. With this pandemic, we couldn't do it this year. Unlikely we are able to do it to the end of the year, but most likely we can start the program on early 2021. And we have few other countries that we are working. Pedro?
Yes. So we're going to share another story. I just want to, before moving along to the next country, I just wanted to rephrase Tom's words. It's been a pleasure meeting these physicians and all these people in Dominican Republic and being able to work with them. So as I mentioned before, in this journey, we have met really inspiring people. So this next story is the story about Guatemala, where we have met during our trip last year and the year before. We met Rudolf Garcia and Gustavo Aguilar, two leaders in the area of transplantation, as well as Edwin and Gina Escobar, two people really involved with social issues in the country. And they were kind enough to share with us the video that we will show you now. So let's see Guatemala video, please.
Hola a todos, mucho gusto. Primero que nada, mi nombre es Gustavo Aguilar, soy cirujano de trasplante hepático en Guatemala. Agradeciendo la invitación para participar en este lindo evento. Quiero comentarles que en Guatemala hemos ido dando durante los últimos años pasos para tratar de realizar los primeros trasplantes de hígado, pero fue hasta que nos involucramos con la Fundación Fundahigado America que realmente empezamos a ver una luz al final del túnel. Y esperamos que durante los siguientes meses en que vamos a trabajar arduamente realizando los módulos para buscar la realización de los primeros trasplantes durante el siguiente año, podamos hacerlos y cambiar la vida de estos niños que hoy están condenados a muerte, a tener esa esperanza de vida y poder crecer y ser ciudadanos útiles para nuestra patria. Gracias, Fundahigado América. Saludos.
Hola. Mi nombre es Edwin Escobar, soy de Guatemala. Mi esposa Gina y yo hemos trabajado las últimas décadas en buscar soluciones y mejores prácticas para ayudar a la gente pobre de nuestro país. Tener acceso a la salud, a la educación, al desarrollo económico social, a la seguridad y a la justicia. En ese camino hemos encontrado el excelente trabajo que está haciendo Fundahigado America bajo liderazgo del Dr. Pedro Rivas y el Dr. Tomoaki Kato y todo su equipo. Creemos que el trasplante hepático pediátrico es uno de gran oportunidad para niños que de otra forma no tendrían una oportunidad de vida en nuestro país. Esto lo que eleva es la calidad y la capacidad del sistema de salud para poder brindar estos servicios. No solo beneficia a estos niños, sino además mejora el sistema de salud en general. Así que con esto endosamos el trabajo y el esfuerzo que hace Fundahigado America en todo el mundo y sobre todo en estos países como Guatemala que tanto lo necesitan. Dios bendiga a Fundahigado America y a todo su equipo.
So Guatemala is one of the countries as Dominican Republic where we have found a lot of enthusiasm and some really interesting physicians and people that they want to bring this option into their country. So as Edwin explained, the fact that we can bring this liver transplantation will have an effect not only on the life of the children we will treat, but also in the medical system as a whole.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, so far we've met many people in many countries, and everybody's enthusiastic about the mission. It is not so easy to develop on its own, but with our help, a lot of people are willing to donate their time to do a lot of hard work to make this possible.
Yeah, we're coming to an end. We just have 15 minutes left, and I think it would be a good time to take bring answers to a few questions that we have. So, Henia, can you please share with us those questions?
Sure. So the first question, I guess a lot of people are wondering about is why is pediatric liver transplant not available in Latin America?
Yeah. So maybe I can start with that.
Yeah.
So the liver transplantation itself is a very difficult surgery to start with, but it's somehow liver transplant to adults made it available in many countries. Not necessarily every country is successful, but the technology, that is something that you could start learning from other places. But to do it in the children is a very different story, because children is, first of all, very small. And then to identify the donor, the cadaveric donor, the brainless donor suitable for children, it's actually not that easy. And also the country where those organ donation programs not well set up, that's actually not possible to start with. So due to that reason that pediatric liver transplant is not really easy to set up, and also to train people who is going overseas and then learn about how to do liver transplant, which is also not that useful because the setting is so different. Like you come to New York and watch how we do, it's like we do it routinely and then daily. Everybody knows how to do, and then equipments are different, facilities are different. So it's not really that you can just go back and replicate what we have here. So that's one of the reasons in Berea. Maybe Pedro, you can elaborate on that.
Yes. I can. I'm a witness of what Tom was explaining. When you train in the U.S., you're under an structure that you will not find when you go back to your country. So that's why our training program involves not only individually identifying the needs of education of each country, but also identifying the hospitals and their own infrastructure and their needs to improve in order to carry on this extremely complex surgery. I think we have a few minutes, and I think, Tom, I will ask you to share how we met, because that's an interesting story about this angel that, in a way, brought us together. Before we take, I think there are a few more questions, but maybe you can share the story now.
Okay. So I think it was back in 2004. I received a call from a mother of a child from Venezuela. That time I was in Miami and I was doing pediatric liver transplant there. The mother wanted to save her child, and then she called for help. She said she has some funding available, so we have her talk to the hospital about the financial arrangement. But it turned out that the funding that she was talking about is really not enough for the transplant in the US, which is a really, really large amount of money. So that time I could have just say no, or I could just have not really deal with it any further. But somehow, one thought came up in my mind that if she cannot come, why don't I go there? This was the thought that I was thinking for a little while, because before then there was also another inquiry from a Caribbean country, and then we asked them to do a fundraising in a country so that the child can come and then get transplanted in the US. But the child did not raise enough fund, and the child died. From that experience, I don't think fundraising in the country is really not realistic. The most realistic thing, although it's far from far from that arrangement to be made, but I thought the realistic thing is for me to go there. And I started making phone call from my friend came from Venezuela, who was working on a liver unit that time. And then he called his friend in Caracas, and then his friend called Pedro, and then miraculously we were talking within 24 hours since I started making first phone call. And at that time, Pedro was also looking for a surgeon who can help him to develop the pediatric liver transplant in the country.
Sure. Yeah, so that's pretty much the initial thoughts behind what we're doing right now, that you can see it has expanded into another countries, and I have to say it's been thousands and thousands of hours and hundreds of cases we've done together. So is there another question, Eugenia?
Yes, so the next question, I think you may have answered it already, which was, why is it so hard to perform pediatric liver transplants?
Yeah.
But I'm going to go on and ask you the two last questions, which are, how successful is pediatric liver transplant, and what are the co-benefits?
Okay. So maybe I can answer the first one. The success of the liver transplant in children is extremely high. It's over 90%. So that means out of 10 children that you transplant, more than 9 of them will be alive in the next year. Not only will be alive, if you follow the story of Stefania is going back to school, and Aurelius just had a baby, and they go back to a normal life, or like Tatiana shared with us, such a normal life that they can go back to dreaming like any normal person. So it is really successful.
Yeah, and I can add also another, interesting aspect. So when we do transplant, we do living donor transplant, meaning the parents, usually parents, one of the parents is small piece of liver, not the whole liver, just transplanting a baby. But that liver grow in the child, liver grows in the child until really they grow up to the adult size of the liver. So it's really interesting that how the liver transplant works. So we have already seen the patient live up to 30 years or even more than 30 years from the liver transplant on a childhood and a baby. And they still look normal and completely healthy. So the liver transplant in children is a very, very successful surgery.
Yeah. Tom, why don't we talk as the last question, the fact of the co-benefits, which I think is very important, because that's something extra that we add with our training section into the country.
Right. So to be able to do liver transplant requires a lot of infrastructure. The infrastructure of the hospital, infrastructure of the country. And then, some of the infrastructure was already there. They just don't know how to use them. Some of the infrastructure maybe needed to be implemented. But with those, after all, the hospital and a country is capable of doing very different stage of surgical treatment and a medical treatment. So that really brings up the level of medical care in the country. And then that is perpetual effect. So when we do that, the first training, and then make liver transplant available in the country, and it's not just the liver transplant became available in the country have that all the infrastructure ongoing forever. So this is a very different type of approach that we can do to help other country like this.
Yeah, so we understand it's we live in a very, very busy world. So just so you know, this virtual town hall is being recorded, and it will be sent next week as a link, so you can share it with your friends. We're working on building our network. You can share it with whoever you think it might be interested in supporting us. So that's one of the things I wanted to mention. And also, we have one last video that we will share with you in a few minutes. And at the end of the video, you will find a QR code. So have your cell phone available, ready in hand, because that will be another option for you to support our cause. So Eugenia, you want to close in with some words from your side?
Yes, so we're reaching an end. I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about and share about. So we invite you to follow us on social media, and hear our stories that are coming, hopefully very soon. Please remember to visit our silent auction webpage and bid to support us. And as Pedro said, you will have a QR code at the end of the video that will take you to the giving page as well if you would like to donate through that platform.
I wanted to add something before we close in, that one of our newest projects due to the COVID is a Classroom to Save Lives. Classroom to Save Lives is our take on teaching online, because as Tom said, we were planning to do our first case in DR this year, but due to the COVID pandemic, we couldn't travel. So we have developed this new platform. So that project, you can learn about that project in our webpage. We are aiming at a goal of $15,000 to raise in order to have that setting online available, so our teaching activities can be carry on even though there is a limitation for traveling, or there is this situation that it will last until finally a vaccine comes available.
Okay. I also like to mention a little bit, we said today what we did, but it's really not what we did. This is what you did. So this is all made possible just because of your generosity and donation. So please keep that in mind. With your support, we could do a lot of things. And then we really like to achieve our goal of making pediatric liver transplant available in every country in Latin America and Caribbean.
Okay, so we've come to an end. I just want to say bye to everyone that has joined us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please stay for our last video that will have some closing information on the QR. Thank you for being.
Gracias a todas estas personas que nos han apoyado y que nos siguen apoyando, es que esto se ha logrado.